Hey Econ Squad, it's Econ Ev here, and welcome to Tutorial 11. Use the following data to work problems 1 through 4. Glucinda's gluten-free bakery hires workers to produce gluten-free treats. The table shows the workers' total product schedule, which you can read on your screen. We're also told that the market for gluten-free treats is perfectly competitive, and that the price of a treat is $4. The market for gluten-free treat workers is competitive, and their wage rate is $14 an hour. In this video, we'll go through the 4 problems you see on your screen. Problem 1. Calculate the value of marginal product schedule. Pause the video right now to give yourself a chance to solve the problem on your own. To calculate the value of marginal product schedule, we must first calculate the marginal product schedule. So first, what is the marginal product? Each time Glucinda's hires another worker, the total number of treats the team can produce increases. But it increases at a decreasing rate in an economic phenomenon called diminishing marginal returns, which you learned about back in Chapter 10. How much an additional worker can produce is represented by the marginal product of labor. The marginal product of labor is the increase in total product that results from a 1-unit increase in labor, with all other inputs remaining the same. Let's go to the total product schedule. First, let's add a 0 row. When 0 workers are hired, total product is 0 treats per hour. And second, because marginal values are reported between rows, let's add some table space. Marginal product of labor is calculated as the change in the total product divided by the change in the number of workers. If Glucinda's hires 3 workers, they produce 15 treats per hour. And if Glucinda's hires 4 workers, they produce 18 treats per hour. The marginal product of labor between 3 and 4 workers is 18 treats per hour minus 15 treats per hour divided by 4 workers minus 3 workers, or 3 treats per hour per worker, so we write 3 in the table here. We repeat this process in the remaining rows to complete the marginal product schedule, and we're ready to move on to the value of marginal product schedule. The value of marginal product of labor is the value to the firm of hiring 1 more unit of labor. To Glucinda, the value of hiring more workers doesn't come only from the increase in the quantity of treats produced, but depends on the price of the treats too. To calculate the value of marginal product of labor, we multiply the marginal product of labor by the price of a treat. Let's return to the table. When the marginal product of labor is 3 treats per hour per worker and the price of a treat is $4, the value of marginal product of labor is $12 per hour per worker. So we write 12 in the table here. And we get these numbers repeating the steps in the remaining rows. Problem 2. How many workers does Glucinda hire? And what is Glucinda's economic profit? Pause the video right now to give yourself a chance to solve the problem on your own. Glucinda's is a firm and firms maximize profit. But how does Glucinda do it? When you learned about the principles that govern how economists think, you learned that how much decisions are made by setting marginal benefit equal to marginal cost. In recent weeks, you've seen that firms implement this thinking to maximize profits by setting marginal revenue equal to marginal cost. And in Chapter 17, you learned one more variation. To the firm, the marginal benefit of hiring a worker is the value of marginal product of labor, which we found in Problem 1. Almost like someone knows how to plan a tutorial. And the marginal cost of hiring a worker is the wage rate paid to the worker. So to maximize profit, the firm hires the quantity of labor that sets the value of marginal product of labor equal to the wage rate. And like how firms in perfect competition are price takers, firms hiring in a competitive labor market are wage takers, which isn't officially a term in our class, but you get the idea. The market wage rate in this problem is $14 an hour. Let's see a graph. The x-axis shows the number of workers hired, and the y-axis shows the value of marginal product of labor and the wage rate for each worker. We plot the value of marginal product of labor numbers from before, remembering to plot them at the halfway points and connect the dots. VMP slopes downward because VMP is a demand for labor curve in disguise, and demand curves satisfy the law of demand. The firm is a wage taker, so the graph of the wage rate is simply a horizontal line. And because the wage line is like a supply of labor curve in disguise, this is officially just a Chapter 3 concept. The point of intersection tells us that 3 workers are hired at a wage rate of $14 an hour. Let's return to the table. We saw in the graph that the VMP curve is linear, so we can fill in the blanks in the VMP column in the way we would expect. To represent the wage rate, we simply write 14 in every row. VMP equals the wage rate when 3 workers are hired. We have to calculate the profit too. profit equals total revenue minus total cost. Total revenue is the product of the quantity of treats sold and their price, and total cost is the product of the number of workers hired and their wage rate. We have a formula and we know all the values, so as my undergrad roommate Eric used to say, now we plug and chug. Substituting the values in for these variables, Glucinda earns a profit of $18 per hour when Glucinda hires 3 workers. Problem 3. The market wage rate rises to $18 an hour. How many workers does Glucinda hire now? Pause the video right now to give yourself a chance to solve this problem on your own. Let's begin with some economic intuition. As labor becomes more expensive, firms demand less labor. So before we run the numbers, let's agree our answer better be fewer than 3 workers. We can complete this problem with a table or with the graph, so let's do both. With the table, we simply change the wage rate to 18 in every row. VMP equals the wage rate when 2 workers are hired, so Glucinda hires 2 workers. On the graph, the market wage rate rises, so the wage line shifts upward from $14 an hour to $18 an hour. The new point of intersection indicates that 2 workers are hired at the new wage rate. The table and the graph lead to the same answer. So do you need to know both? Because you don't know which information you'll be given in the exam, it's best to be fluent in both approaches. Problem 4. The price rises to $7 a treat. How many workers does Glucinda hire now? As a point of clarity, unless otherwise stated, we do not assume that the change in the wage rate carries over between the questions. So the wage rate returns to $14 an hour. With that point of clarification made, pause the video right now to give yourself a chance to solve the problem on your own. We once again begin with economic intuition. If the price of the good rises, the value of marginal product of each worker rises, so the demand for labor increases and the firm hires more workers. Let's run the numbers. We can get the value of marginal product of labor by multiplying the marginal product of labor by the price of a treat. When the price of a treat rises from $4 to $7, the value of marginal product of labor increases, and we get these numbers when we recalculate the value of marginal product schedule. The wage column is the same as it was in problem 2. VMP equals the wage rate when 4.5 workers are hired, so Glucinda maximizes profit by hiring 4.5 workers. Huh? Can we hire 0.5 of a worker? Yes, at least in Economics 1021. We assume that goods, firms, and workers are infinitely divisible. More reasonably, you can imagine Glucinda hiring 4 full-time workers and 1 part-time worker. We get the same result looking at the graph. The VMP curve shifts rightward from VMP 0 to VMP 1, and the number of workers hired increases from 3 workers to 4.5 workers. In this video, we learned how a firm maximizes profit when it hires workers in a competitive labor market. We learned that the value of marginal product of labor is the marginal product of labor, or the increase in the total product from hiring an additional unit of labor, multiplied by the market price of the good produced by the labor. We also learned the Chapter 17 version of marginal benefit equals marginal cost. A firm maximizes profit by hiring the quantity of labor at which the value of marginal product of labor equals the market wage rate. When the market wage rate rises, labor becomes more expensive, so the profit maximizing firm responds by hiring fewer workers. And when the price of the good being produced and sold rises, the higher price increases the value of marginal product of labor, so the profit maximizing firm responds by hiring more workers. Thanks for watching and keep studying. Did you like this video? My career goal is to teach as many people economics as I possibly can. If you have any feedback for how Liam and I can make better videos for economics students like you, please email me your feedback. I'm tough, so don't hold back. I sincerely hope you enjoyed this video, and I'm wishing you the best as you study for your Economics 1021 final exam.